No Leonard Floyd in Buffalo. No Jordan Poyer in Buffalo.
Yeah.
The fan base is happy, sad, disappointed, and there's been a few changes with the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, they're not happy. I don't know about sad either. I guess, I mean, disappointed. Look, they knew some of this was coming. I don't think the Bills were in such a bad cap situation. I mean, they were $45-ish million over the cap before they started making all these moves. They had to get cap compliance. So, guys, we knew you could have just pulled up the salary cap page, looked at the highest numbers, match up guys with age, contract terms, injury history, and you would not have been shocked to find out that Jordan Poyer, Mitch Morse, and Trey White were released. I don't think anybody thought Leonard Floyd was going to be able to be re-signed by the Bills, because you knew he was going to go to the market and get more money than in all likelihood the Bills could offer. So, John, none of the moves I would say are shocking. It's disappointing because there are good football players who were shown the door, but it's not surprising given the cap situation and what the Bills were dealing with from a business standpoint. They had to move out some big contracts.
And having to do Josh Allen's contract.
Yeah, well, that made sense too. I mean, the guy's cap number was $47 million. So, they were going to do that at some point. And that they needed that to just get cap compliant and then create some space. Now, look, they've re-signed Daquan Jones, who was a free agent, and that's a really big re-signing. That's a very important move for the Bills because they need his presence on the defensive line. But, the offseason has largely been about goodbye to those guys, goodbye Gabe Davis, because they just weren't able to make it work.
What's really interesting to me is if you look at almost any team that's near the cap, it doesn't matter what sport they're in. Baseball, hockey, football, basketball. It seems like every team plays to the cap, and they make their signings and make their judgments based on that, on the fact that we have this much we can spend under the cap, and so we'll spend it.
Yeah, now, there's also two things, Bob, to keep in mind with the Bills, and the Bills aren't the only team. When you get, John, you mentioned Josh Allen, right? When you get the franchise quarterback, the good news is you have your franchise quarterback and your Super Bowl window is open as long as that guy is your franchise quarterback.
No doubt.
The bad news is he's going to get the big contract. He's going to have the massive cap numbers, and you're going to have to work around that over the life of that contract. So the Bills are dealing with that, and every other team that has that big quarterback contract, they're all going to deal with that. But you want that, obviously. You can't win without Josh Allen. You just have to figure out how to make it work. And making it work means at some point, the other thing is, the second factor with the Bills is, guys, you can always push numbers into the future. You can try and, you can't beat the cap. Ultimately, no one beats the cap, but you can always restructure contracts and just keep pushing money. At some point, you're going to get to a point where you got to release a whole bunch of guys. The Bills don't like to push money. They don't want to do that. They don't want to screw things up in 25 or 26. So they ripped the Band-Aid off now. They cut the guys they had to cut because they want to put themselves in a better place to sustain long-term success.
So, so we're also talking about a league. I think the cap this year is like $235 million. I think it's pretty around.
I think it went up. I think it's around 250. I think it went up like $30 million.
And we're also dealing with a league that doesn't. I know they're guaranteed dollars, but they're not guaranteed contracts. I mean, that's the huge advantage of this league right now. That there's a ton of players that at the end of through the whole season are on pins and needles. They may be gone.
Right. Well, which is why whenever you see these contracts in the NFL, like now, the free agents that are signing, and you'll sometimes, it might say 3 years, 30 million, up to 50 million. The way they structure contracts, guys, I mean, they put larger numbers, base salaries in the back end of deals for older guys. There's always a way to massage the salary cap in the NFL. So again, the Bills have opted, and they do that, right? They'll do the big cap numbers, and then if they have to, they'll restructure or they'll extend guys. They just extend Deion Dawkins. He had a big cap number. So they'll do a lot of the stuff everybody does. But ultimately, you do reach a point where if you're really good, it's very difficult to keep that entire roster together because you just can't make it work.
What's interesting to me is, in every other league, we know what the cap is, and we know what the salary is. So it's really easy to assimilate how that will impact. But in the NFL, as you said, they can restructure deals. There are no guarantees. It's really, a guy gets 50 million a year. I don't really know what that means anymore. Do you?
Right. That's why the deals, you have to actually look at the breakdown of the contract. You can't just do, like, the NHL is pretty easy, right? 3
Sure
years,
it is.
24 million. Hey, that's 8 million a year. It doesn't work that way with the NFL cap.
Right.
That was designed by the commissioner to keep the owners from screwing themselves. and there's just so much money in football.
Yeah.
There's so much money. And by the way, there's more money coming.
Oh, of course. There always is. There always is. There's always another revenue stream. There's always another TV package, an official sponsor. They're fantastic at creating revenue.
Hey, listen, Roger Goodell's mumbling about an 18th game again.